Hi, it's Jane Scharf coming to you from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And I wanted to talk to you today about the WHO, the World Health Organization, and the so-called plan for the WHO to take control of public health in the world. They can say whatever they want. It wouldn't be legal in Canada. As a matter of fact, the process of bringing that about would actually be treason. The definition of treason is conspiring with foreign entities to undermine the sovereignty of Canada. So allowing some kind of foreign, unelected, unaccountable agency to have control over our medical system and our medical decisions would be treason. And Trudeau's already getting his ass kicked over violating civil liberties with the illegal implementation of the Emergency Act. So this would just be added to it. So the RCMP are already saying that he's committed 2 crimes. He went on a holiday with money given to him by some private agency without getting approval for that, and that makes it illegal. It makes an actual crime. And he lied about it, which is obstruct. And as well, when he was questioned about the Army's involvement in the truckers' convoy, he said there was no involvement. Lies. He did ask them to surveil the truckers' convoy, I guess just from the air, but regardless, that's illegal to do that without going through the proper processes. So there's another crime. And now if he turns around, and I mean he's done many other ones, but if this one here, if he turns around and puts Canada's name on this so-called agreement with the WHO, treason, pure and simple. And treason is considered the most serious crime that anyone can commit. And once he's arrested for that, he'll never get out of jail. And I want people to think about that for a minute. Definition, look it up. Conspiring with foreign entities to undermine the sovereignty of Canada. Treason. So, but even if he does that, he does this treasonous act. So what? It isn't even worth the paper it's written on, because he's not allowed to violate the Canadian Bill of Rights without expressly stating that the rights will be violated and getting an act of Parliament. So whatever they think they're going to do, it's not going to be of any import, because they can't violate your rights. And this is what they want to do. They want to have enough authority to impose all of this medical agenda and use the police and use the military and everything to impose it. But they're not going to be able to do that by some back deal friggin' agreement that they're signing. And I want people to, if you haven't already, become familiar with the Canadian Bill of Rights, because that's what's going to keep communism out of this country. That's what it was designed for. The author, John Diefenbaker, actually expressly stated that that's what its main purpose was, is to keep communism out of the country. There was a long discussion before it was actually passed, because many people believed that we had all our rights in common law and we didn't need anything more. And Diefenbaker argued that we need to articulate and entrench the rights in order to be able to have them firmly established. And I'm believing that that's the case. And now, mind you, Pierre Elliott Trudeau has made an attempt to undermine the Canadian Bill of Rights with this damn commie charter, but it's not working. It's people are catching on, and it's already been determined by the courts that you don't have to use the charter. The charter has no effect unless you invoke it. So if you don't invoke it, it's like a sleeping lion. And the Bill of Rights, you don't have to invoke it. You could just cite it in the moment. Like if you're having problems with the government agency or with police or whatever, you can cite it right there on the spot. And you can use it in any and all formal proceedings involving the government. So it's a very, very strong, powerful piece of legislation, and it's going to carry us through. And you can already see it's working, because the police refused to shut gatherings with these COVID measures. It says in there that police were supposed to monitor the number of people that were in your home. and make sure it didn't exceed the whatever the set amounts size of the group. Like I think it went to 100 and then 25 and then 5. So for example, when it went down to 5, if the neighbor said, oh, I saw 6 people going in there, the police apparently, according to these provincial bylaws, rinky-dinky bylaws is what I call them, it said that the police were authorized to smash into your house with no warrant, count the people. If it's over the limit, then remove everybody, children, grandmother, everybody, out onto the street and lock your house down for as long as they felt it's necessary for the safety. And they never did it. They refused to do it. The only time the police did it was when there's a court order. And they did it in Skelly's, but that wasn't police. That was off-duty police officers hired as private security. That wasn't Toronto Police. And in fact, Toronto Police didn't do it anywhere. Ottawa Police didn't do it. None of the regional police did that. And then when they came out with the stay-at-home orders, which would have required, like we saw what happened with that in Australia, when you went to leave your home, the police would come on you and demand your ID, demand to know where you're going, if it's not an essential place. And I think you even had to prove where you're going to. But if it was not an essential place, then you'd be fined. Well, they were supposed to do that. That's what the COVID measures laws articulated. And the police said, no, we're not doing that. 44 out of 44 police services submitted public statements that they would not do that. And obviously the government couldn't make them do it because it was unlawful. That's why the police were allowed to refuse. And it wasn't unlawful because of the damn charter. The charter would have allowed the government to do that, and then the police would have had to file a constitutional challenge in order to get out of doing it. But the Bill of Rights, they're just not allowed to do it straight up. You don't need a court proceeding. You don't need anything. You just can't go there. You're not going there. So it's working, and the courts are respecting it. We have had many people now, countless number of people using Canadian Bill of Rights, getting their charges, their COVID measure charges dropped, criminal charges related to, I think common nuisance was the big one for the COVID measures. And now we expect that the convoy charges and there was charges also laid in the Rolling Thunder. We also expect those are going to be dropped as well, because they were violating people's right to freedom of speech, assembly, and association. And the Emergency Act says right in it that they're not allowed to violate your rights, even in the case of a national emergency. So we're going to win that, and we are winning it. Like, that's a clear thing, because you can see what's going on with the Senate. They're kicking the shit out of the police that they're interviewing, and they've been able, and they have subpoena power. So the police have to go. Anybody they want to testify has to go, and they have to answer because they're subpoenaed. And that's really good that we have a really strong committee looking after this. And the police have acknowledged publicly that they did not request the government to bring in the Emergency Act. And that was the RCMP and CSIS and the Ottawa Police Services have said that. And Ottawa Police Services have also confirmed that there was no guns confiscated from the truckers' convoy, and there was no violence, and therefore there was no cause for the Emergency Act whatsoever. And even if there was those things, there still wouldn't be cause for the Emergency Act, because there's laws against guns and violence. Okay, so the police could have just used those laws, and there's also a criminal code section that allows them to deem a protest illegal and shut it down if there's violence. Okay, so they didn't need the Emergency Act. And then on top of that, Trudeau never got permission from the legislature and the Senate to bring it in to effect. So he didn't have the grounds, he violated rights, and he didn't have permission. So you're done, bud. And you don't think the WHO thing is going to get all attached? It will, because it's all a big ball of shit, and it's going to stick on him, and he's coming down. Because you can see now that people, even at that level, like the MPs and the Senate and so on, that had gone along with a lot of stuff, are all of a sudden starting to kick back and say, whoa. And I think one of the big tweaks was Bill S233, which is the guaranteed annual income. We started a letter campaign that really emphasized the risks involved with this bill, and then thousands of people sent it to their MPs and their senators, and I think that caused a reaction. And I think it even caused an awareness of something that we didn't even think of when we wrote the letters. I wasn't thinking initially that all government or all federal government pensions are going to be lumped into this, until I saw a response to a woman who sent a letter to all the MPs and all the senators, and she got a response from Senator Tate, who was one of the ones that introduced this bill, S233, and in it she said it's for combining into one universal package unemployment income and disability income and retirement income, not seniors pension, retirement income. So that would encompass, the wording of that would encompass the pensions, so that would be bureaucrats, police, MPs, and senators, because they're saying it's a universal benefit, and they're saying retirement. Okay, so I think that's kind of woken them up, and there's a pushback going on in there, and that might be why all the motivation to really go after him in this Senate inquiry, because it's certainly, they're not fooling around. They're being very clear and forceful in terms of holding him accountable. And you can see that he's coming apart by the seams, that he's swearing in the parliament and everything. So anyways, I don't think that the WHO is going to be the master of Canada. The people of Canada are the masters of Canada. We are the sovereign. As an entire group, citizenry, we are the sovereign. Not the government, not the WHO, not the banks, we are the sovereign. And our laws support that, because this is still a democratic country. I mean, they've been working on it, but they didn't get any critical changes that they needed to bring the police and the military against us and to undermine our rights. Our rights are still flying, and as by and large, the police and the military have not acted against us. And that doesn't mean that they didn't act against us in the Emergency Act, but by bringing that out, the government forced the police into that position. They didn't take it on their own. They could have. They had the criminal code. They could have deemed it unlawful and shut it down and charged everybody, all that, but they didn't do that. And I think it's because the police, by and large, not all police, there's pigs and they need to be called out, and I'm not one to say don't ever say anything against a police officer. If he's being an ass, he should be called out for being an ass. But I'm saying overall, they have our back. And overall, our military has our back. And overall, our courts appear to be having our back, because they're dropping all the charges instead of just issuing stupid ass decisions. They're dismissing. So that's an indication that those bureaucrats in the court system are also recognizing that they don't want communism. And if we continue to speak out, stand our ground, and give our credible and integral politicians and other bureaucrats, please give them the recognition, give them the support, stand behind them. Open your mouth, express your rights, or exercise your rights. And I mean, express your opinion and exercise your rights. And this is the way we win this. And don't start thinking, oh my God, the WHO is going to be in control. No, they're not. Not even close. Like Trudeau going off and signing some stupid ass thing that never went through Parliament or anything else that undermines the sovereignty of Canada and our rights and everything else. Pfft, not legal. Not even close. So don't bite into it. It's going to mean nothing. It's going to be paper that isn't even worth the paper it's written. It's going to be a deal that isn't even worth the paper it's written on. So stay informed and act and speak whenever you can, and people are. So basically I'm saying keep it up and tell other people. And I can see it catching on, and I can, like, when people see the Canadian Bill of Rights, it gives them such strength and such validation and such hope and optimism. It's incredible, and it's infectious. You know, like the fear is infectious, so is the triumph and the optimism that you get when you read that document. It's recognizing your God-given rights. Imagine. And the Charter talks about the government-given rights. Okay? And the Bill of Rights is your God-given human rights and fundamental freedoms. And it shows respect for the family and free institutions and moral and spiritual integrity. It's a fabulous document. And the best one that I love, the best section I love, is section 1B. The right for individuals to be treated equally by the law and protected equally by the law. That is beautiful. That absolutely negates masking, because that's groups of people, masked and unmasked, and you're treating them differently. Vaxxed and unvaxxed, you're treating them differently. I would imagine it would even amount to, apply to the lockdowns when it's this business can be open and this business can't be open. That's categories of people. So if you're a gym owner, you have to be closed, but if you're Costco's, you can be open. Like as if being fit, and especially with people with disabilities and things like that it's very critical that they access their gym. So to try and say Costco's is more important, no, it's not. And there's all kinds of other, like the liquor store. Like, come on, okay? The gym is closed, but the liquor store is open. We have to make sure that we have our alcohol. Like, and pot stores open. Like, come on now. So that's categories of people. So you're not allowed to do that. They have to be all treated the same. So this business person has to be treated like this business person, and this one, and that one, and the other one. So how do we do that? And I'm just going to leave you with this thought. Get involved in the municipal election. Either run yourself, which is not a big deal. For council, it's 50 signatures and $100, like big whoop. And then get a team going and get door to door. So you don't even need a big bank account for that. So you need your signs. So find out how unfortunately you have to have signs. But it's not that much in just a little, like if you're going for councillor, it's not that expensive for the number of signs you need. And you can raise money, like you can collect money and give them tax receipts. But what's most important is your team. Get out door to door and talk to the people, and tell them what you're on about. And what you can do on the municipal level is you can refuse all of these bullshit mandates, vax, passport, masking, all that. You can refuse it because these are violations of the Canadian Bill of Rights, and the Canadian Bill of Rights applies to the mayors. It says right in the criminal code that mayors are regulated by the criminal code, and public officers, which would include councillors, are regulated by the criminal code. And therefore, federal matter, therefore the Canadian Bill of Rights applies. As well, the Canadian Bill of Rights says it applies to all laws in Canada. It doesn't say all federal laws, it says all laws in Canada. So or all, no, it says all laws of Canada. So it does apply. So the municipality, if you get integral people, like local integral people into those positions, they can vote against all of that stuff and any other bullshit that they're trying to bring in and keep the city safe or the town safe from this communism coming in. And it's the only way to do it. The provincial government can't do it. Like, even if you get a majority of integral people on the provincial, that can happen. And federal, it's not likely gonna make any, not gonna make any inroads there. And it's very expensive to run a provincial campaign and a federal campaign, but it's very inexpensive to run a municipal campaign. Except for the mayor, that would get, like for large city, that would get expensive. But for the councils, each council, not bad at all. And then there's trustees. You want to get trustees in there too, to get rid of those goddamn masks and vaccinations out of the schools. So there you go. And that election's coming up, I think, in October 2022. So hopefully you can join with other people and either run yourself or find somebody that's going to run and back them up. Go to door with them and you know, assist in whatever way you can to get things happening. So that's it. That's all for today. And remember, hashtag we got this.